Okay, let's start our class. I'll share my slides muna. Okay, so I assume that you already have attempted and submitted your assessments, your midterm examination as required. Natapos na ba natin? Submit na ba natin?
Yes, Doc.
Yes, Doc.
Okay. Few things lang kasi that's an examination, no? So I hope that you have followed the instruction because whatever is submitted in the LMS would be the one graded. So we are now on the second part of our lesson for this course, and that's basically machine learning. We're done with the concept of data science and types of analytics, and we have also finished discussing the most common type of predictive analytics, or the most common or the fundamental type of predictive model, which is the regression analysis. Well, I would still be discussing partly some other types of regression analysis on later parts. It's but right that we will be starting this unit now, which is machine learning, so that we can immediately proceed to the assessments, to the assessment that I would be giving to you, which would be in a form of a journal article that you're going to submit by May. So after this lesson, I would be giving you sample journals that you would be benchmarking or attempting to submit with, so that it would serve as your final exam. So talking about machine learning, it's basically, well, it's not basic, no, it's a type of advanced field of analytics that aims to do simulations akin to a learning that is done by, or that akin to a learning that is done by brain of a human being, but then such would be in a form of simulations only done by a computer unit. So in machine learning, we are trying to automate automations, which means that we're going to basically study how big data are being analyzed in terms of their patterns, in terms of their behavior by specific algorithms or specific statistical or programming language based models or analysis that aims to study the behavior of the data and apply this into succeeding data sets that will be coming into the system. So it's basically getting computers to program themselves, writing software in a bottleneck, and of course, making data work for that software. So machine learning is a little bit higher compared to the usual predictive analytics, which intends to only predict what will happen in the future given these following conditions. In machine learning, it's learning from that, and then you're going to apply it in future data sets or future scenarios, wherein what would be the future values would be predicted based on the past behavior. So it's just like imagine the scenario, a specific computer unit or program would detect na itong bagong estudyante na to, or itong bagong, let's say, third-year accountancy student will be predicted to pass or to graduate accountancy and pass the board exam kahit kakatuntong pa lang niya ng third year, because there is already a large data set from hundreds of thousands of students like her in the past, which were used to create a forecasting model or forecasting decision. So ano ang ginawa niya? Ano ang ginawa ng system? Nagbigay siya ng preliminary prediction based sa previous performance, based sa model na meron ka, at based sa current performance ng student, it is predicted that the student will remain in the program and will graduate, something like that. So it's a little bit of knowing the future by understanding the past. Now, in machine learning, sometimes the approach of teaching it is a little bit different when taking the perspective of a computer science or statistics student. So for example, if in case na ang pagsasalitain is yung mga IT, computer science, computer engineering, machine learning is basically their field. It's basically their discipline. So following the concept of following the concept of that computer theory that is called GIGO. Alam niyo ba kung anong GIGO? Garbage in, garbage out, which means that whatever is being programmed to the computer, if in case you're programming it to give you false information or false outcome, then it would give you the same. If in case you would feed it with the wrong information, then it would give you an output just the same. So kung nagtanim ka ng basura, basura ang makukuha mo dyan. So for machine learning, it's basically different because what you're looking for is not an output, but you're going to use the output to further improve the program. So that means in traditional programming, you have a data, you have to develop a program so that you can capture and process that data. You have this computer unit, and then it would give you output. Okay, so if in case na may makikita kayo sa mga systems na ginagamit natin sa ating trabaho, if in case may data kayo, may program kayo, may program ang SSS, something like that, may data si SSS, and bibigyan nyo sa iyo na output is yung information ninyo kung ano yung mga remittances ninyo. But for machine learning, it's the other way around because there's data, and then based on that, it would be analyzed by a computer and it would give you an output. That output would be a basis also of the computer to improve its accuracy over time. So may data ka, meron kang computer, meron kang computer program, yung output na yon is not the end point of machine learning. What you're trying to perfect there is not the output, but the accuracy of the program to give you the best of its performance. For example, if in case ang system natin to predict whether the students shall remain in the program, something like that, is 88% accurate, we do not stop with 88%. We're trying to look for ways to improve the fit of the model. We're trying to look for possibilities that it could improve to 90%, 91, 93, 95, and so on and so forth. This may be a little bit giving you consternation, or it could be something that's totally different with statistics. But believe me, if in case we would be discussing the fundamentals of machine learning along the way, you would be surprised of its applications. Now, machine learning is not something that would give you magic, like it would predict something. No? If in case, may possibility ba na ang machine learning magbibigay sa atin ng, let's say, may magbibigay ba siya sa atin ng future? Mababasa ba niya ang future natin? It doesn't work that way, no? So it could actually appear that way because of specific parameters that make it appear like that. So it's more like gardening because you have in gardening you have like seeds, nutrients, the gardener, and the plants. So the seeds there are the algorithms, which means that you need to apply the correct, you need to plant the correct seeds in order for you to get something in the future. So it's like the algorithms that you're trying to implement in your computer program, which intends to give you the output that you wanted for that program. And then what makes that seeds effective, or what makes that algorithms work for you, is that you need to provide it with data. Because pinrogram mo lang yung computer unit mo, or pinrogram mo lang yung program, wala ka namang data set. No? Of course, you have to feed it so that it would be utilized. Okay? So if in case you intend to use a specific recommender system, or like a decision support system that aims to classify whether or not incoming applicants of 4Ps are really deserving, or are really classified as the ones that really need help based on its implementing rules and regulations. You need to feed the system those data that you need. That's why in our project, we really need a lot of data so that we can improve the accuracy of that. It's the same thing as nutrients that you feed with your seeds, along with the water, along with the nourishment that it needs. And then the gardener is you, basically, because the gardener tends to the plants. It cultivates, it removes the weeds. So it's like in machine learning, it's you who will fine-tune your models. So for example, so how does this relate to statistics? So naalala niyo yung examination ninyo, meron tayong regression analysis, something like that. If in case hindi normally distributed ang data natin, may mga pagkakataon that you need to remove some specific instances or respondents that are identified as outliers, or some of them may have affected the model because the residuals have Cook's distance values greater than 2. And if that's the case, you need to restrict them, you need to filter them out so that it would not make your data not normally distributed. So bakit kailangan normally distributed ang ating dataset? Because that's the very requirement if you wanted to pursue Pearson R and regression analysis, the multiple linear regression analysis. You cannot do correlation, you cannot do regression if the data set is not normally distributed. So, okay, balikan natin ang characteristics ng normally distributed. It follows a bell-shaped curve. So far, based on your output, based sa analysis ninyo, sino dito yung nag-coffee shop? Saan sa data set na in-exam ko ang hindi normally distributed? Can I ask Jim? Kasi si Jim ang nagkuha ng picture ninyo sa coffee shop. Meron ba doong data set na hindi normally distributed?
Wait lang, Dok. Wait lang. I-open ko, Dok.
Sige. 10, 9.
Ay, i-share ba, Dok? Ayun lang.
Hindi. Saan lang doon? Mag-identify ka lang. Saan doon na data set? Na-establish nyo ba ang graphs noon? Nakita nyo ba na hindi bell-shaped curve ang isa sa mga data set doon?
Yung sa number 1, normally distributed man siya, Dok.
Okay. How about, yun yung number 1 is the housing prices in Paris.
Opo.
So normally,
the number 1 is the yung
wine at ang number 1.
wine.
white wine. So
wine.
Ang wine is normally distributed.
Opo, sa number 2, generally sa number 2 naman, generally normal siya. Although mayroon graph na slightly positive skewed siya, Dok.
Okay, sige. So at least you have made those diagnoses before you proceeded with the regression analysis, because there is a need for us to check those kasi our prediction would not be as accurate as it is intended to be if we're not going to check on that, if we're not going to check the residuals. So how about how about your results for the prediction, Mr. Coraje, for problem number 1? Ano doon sa mga determinants of wine quality ang hindi significant predictor?
Sorry, Doc, actually hindi pa ako nakakuan. It's because may problema ako ang net. Akong laptop.
I think tapos na yung due date.
Kani, Doc, pero laban lang ako.
Halaka.
Sorry
Anyway, how about Jillian? How about you? Saan sa mga indicators or saan sa mga characteristics ng wine quality ang nakita mo na significant predictor?
Let me check my result. Ang volatile acidity,
Okay.
chlorides, free sulfur dioxide, total sulfur dioxide,
Itong bag.
sulfates, and alcohol, pati pH level po, Doc.
So majority of that have significant
Yes.
effect, no?
Yes po, Doc.
Sa mga na-mention mo ba, saan doon ng positive at saka yung negative? Yung
Okay, Doc.
coefficient.
Check, Doc. Ang negative po is volatile acidity.
So which means the higher it is, the lower the quality of the wine.
Yes po.
Okay.
And chlorides as well, Doc.
So which is you increase the chlorides, pangit ang quality ng wine.
Yes, Doc.
Okay.
And aray.
Yun lang.
Wala na pong negative. Opo.
Yun lang dalawa. Okay. So it
Yes,
does
po.
make sense because if in case you're going to rationalize those, the more mataas kasi yung chlorides, the more that the wine would basically become basic. And the more the wine is also acidic, then it's really not good in taste. So it has to be a perfect blend of the pH has to be just right for you to appreciate the quality of the wine. So just like you, of course, in order for you to get the most of that result, if in case you want to predict something, then at least you would know how to analyze the data set, no? And you need to pay close attention to it. If in case you would be given data sets to analyze, you need to really check on it, and so that you would know the dirty work of being data scientist. Anyway, and the plants are programs. So that means na if in case you wanted to ensure that your plants are healthy, it bears great fruit, it gives you the source, it gives you the vegetables that you're going to consume for your dinner, then of course you need to tend to it like a responsible gardener, feed it with nutrients, and of course ensure that it's weeded out, and you need to make it sustain its life until until that there is a need for you to rotate the crops, no? Because in planting, of course, the nutrients of the soil will lose if in case you're not going to do some crop rotation by planting leguminous plants, something like that. So machine learning is also like that. You need to be aware of how to do the data analysis. It's not just running and knowing what to click. You need to also be aware on the things that you're going to do. Now, for machine learning, there are a lot of applications. We might not be aware that the things that we're doing are actually outcomes of machine learning. In fact, ang pinaka-common ngayon na ginagamit pang cheat ng student kapag nagsasubmit sila ng assessment, it's an output of machine learning. Alam niyo ba kung ano yun? Ano yun?
ChatGPT, Doc.
Correct.
ChatGPT.
is an AI, is an artificial intelligence that is connected deeply. No, it's a complex program that is an example of what deep learning is, and deep learning is higher order machine learning. So that includes web search. Okay, so magtataka kayo, bakit nasasagot ni ChatGPT halos lahat ng questions ninyo, even writing for a heartbreak letter or a letter demanding for an explanation from the person who ghosted you. So of course, grabe siya very intelligent na gyud siya. We also have computational biology. So if you're not aware what computational biology is, it's using algorithms to identify whether the species that you have gathered may be similar or may be different. Could be similar in form or structure, but genetically hindi pala sila similar. You might have discovered a new species. So it's part of computational biology. It's also used for phenotypic identifications. That means you're going to identify possible scenarios that this particular gene is dominant or recessive, and thus specific characteristics of the species may be active, it may be seen or manifested in its physical form or not. Anong ibig sabihin ng phenotypical application? So if in case tayo, so tayo kasi is meron tayong mga specific genes responsible for our structure. Some of us may have a bent thumb. Some of us cannot bend our thumb because there is a specific gene that is responsible for that. It may be active to you, that's why it's dominant, or it could be just passive to you, that's why it's recessive. Okay? So part yan sa pag-identify mga species na, I'm not so sure if I can give you a clear example of it here. So baka magtataka kayo, sir, gumagamit ka ng ChatGPT in a lot of ways. No? Even in coding and programming, gumagamit ako. So computational biology.
Dong, okay naman ang ChatGPT as basis. Ayaw lang gamit ang answer yung ipasa.
Okay, ma-detect man po na ako siya.
Reference lang, Doc, ba? Pakuwag idea, pwede na.
Correct. So pareha aning ano ba yung pinaka-common for computational biology? Kanang knowing, classifying, identifying different molecular sugars or proteins, even identifying what specific viruses are of the same or related family, something like that, no? So ito, pagpalagay natin. So this one is a sample of computational biology that is a product of research of the UNIMELB. This one, this particular high density electron microscope output. So kana siya, unsa pa ba yung example? So this one is also an output of machine learning. This one, even specific photos, high image photos, in order for you to create the image of the sun. Okay, wala gyud isa ka book photo maka-capture gyud sa entire surface of the sun. It needs millions of photos, and it needs to have a lot of iterations to make the photo kana ganing unsa, dili gani hayag kay sa katanan. So it also needs computation, high machine learning for it. So of course, finance. I'll give you an example of an application. I actually use it in my study. So I actually use it to predict kung unsa ang mga factors nga mo determine sa kung di makabayad og utang ang usa ka member sa multipurpose cooperative. So I wrote a paper together with my students in the information system. I have identified, although the data, ito yung aking mga attributes, no? So although nalaman namin na may mga factors sa kanilang form or sa kanilang system ang medyo nagli-lead towards loan default, we cannot actually say that it's really 100% accurate because the maximum accuracy that we only got is 78.38%. Based on different algorithms that we have conducted. So, for example, if in case we have 1,200 na mga members, we have correctly identified 1,019. 1,019 respondents, maximum. So we were able to correctly classify na ang katong mga nangutang is katong mag-default yun. Ang mga hindi mag-default, hindi talaga mag-default. So it only is effective in that particular something. So of course, part of these applications is predicting loan default, customer churn, even your likelihood na magkuan ka, disapprove ka sa imuhang pre-approve sa imuhang mga pre-application ba sa website pa. Kung anong kanilang eligibility form, o na makadetect na ang system nga dili ka qualified, so kana siya. It's something like that. E-commerce, if in case matingala ka ang imuhang ipangita ganina sa Shopee ganito, pero later on pag login mo ulit sa Shopee, may mga specific na mga search suggestions na si Shopee for you. It's also possible that it can autofill what you need to unsa. So kung mangita kag something dira like cat food, mahatag na po na siya later on sa imuhang mga searches for cat litter, kanang mga catnip, bisan kung di ka mangitaan na. So it's It's something that learns from previous search queries of others and your previous searches as well. So it was able to profile you to give you that. And then space exploration, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, it also needs or taking a high image photo of Jupiter, of asteroids, of the sun, of the comet does not only require one photo or one high density camera to capture that image. It needs millions of images and compile it together and arrange it into one single something like that. One single render. No? So even kanang mga animated na mga films, animated films require super fast computers because the render sometimes kana ganing mga parihaan ng sa Avatar, ang render ana is very mabigat. So of course, those are some of the outcomes of applications of machine learning for film or for animated films. And then robotics, if in case you wanted to kanang simple nga mga robotics, kanang pag-scan lang sa imong passport diha sa kanang kuan sa Cebu International Airport o sa NAIA, kanang scan lang siya para scan lang ang imuha ganing boarding pass or ang imong passport para kung maabot ka, mag-issue na siya og sticker na imo na imong ibutang dito. So it's it would open if in case it has detected you or it has read you accurately. So of course that's robotics as well. Or kanang mga makinang nga ginagamit, it is actually trained hundreds or thousands of times based on given commands or parameters to pick this up, drench this with chocolate, and then drizzle it with something, and so on and so forth, or throw this away and then put this in something like that, in a hot cauldron of oil, whatever. No, so of course that's robotics. And information extraction, yung ating social media, meron yung machine learning. So of course, hindi mo alam, ma-check mo na lang, may mga nag-add ka ng isang friend, it would suggest to you people whom you may know, no? Or for example, nakita lang na nimo siya unya paghuman or nagpicture lang mo, tapos niagi lang na siya, na capture lang na siya sa imong photo, something like that. Mag-identify na siya, mag-auto-tag na siya, or mag-suggest na siya unsay kinsa ba ni nga itag ba nimo si kini. Na uban ana nga i-suggest na siya sa imo as friend. So that's information extraction. Siguro ang algorithm ana is more of pattern recognition or kanang mga image processing. And then social networks and then debugging. So at the end of our session on May sa machine learning, tuturuan ko kayo kung paano mag-harvest ng tweets in Twitter for semantic analysis. And then debugging, so of course identifying errors in the system, and a lot of applications that you might be interested to learn. So machine learning in a nutshell, so tens of thousands of machine learning algorithms are generated, or are developed each year, and there are hundreds new every year as well, intended to make our lives better. So yung ating mga systems na ini-implement sa office, some of them use machine learning, especially if they're dealing with data, no? So meron nga tayong bago. Sino ba dito ang iPhone? Yung at least iPhone 13 or iPhone 14 or yung bago yung cellphone, merong specific update si iPhone that you can even copy and paste images. For example, I'm not so sure if you can see this one, my photo. If I'll click my picture, it would scan something like that, and it would attempt to copy my photo. So I'll copy that. Tapos, let's say I'll send that as a text message. So i-paste ko. You can actually paste your image, something like that. So it's now the update of iPhone, no? It's basically artificial intelligence. Let's say I would copy a specific part of the image. I'll just highlight that one, and it would highlight that. It could ask you to copy that, something like that, or you can share it to any other things. You can copy a part of the image in iPhone. Now, iPhone is also more particular with the devices that you have used for capturing. So it could give you information on about the photo and even the geotag of that. So ang dami-dami ng mga specific improvements ngayon. It's kind of scary, but it sounds cool as well. So every machine learning algorithm has three components. Number one is representation. Second one is evaluation. And third is optimization. So in terms of representation, these are the things that we're going to learn. No? So especially in supervised machine learning. So we will be discussing decision trees, sets of rules. Decision trees, meron tayong laboratory for this. And then sets of rules or logic programs, instances, graphical models like the naive Bayes and Markov nets. So I would be discussing decision trees, instances, or unsupervised machine learning to check instances. And then I would also teach you naive Bayes. And of course, neural networks, SVM or support vector machines. Itong model unsum, hindi ko na ito matuturo kasi napaka computer engineering ito. And then another step of machine learning is evaluation. So in evaluation, we would be learning accuracy. When we say accuracy, that is the ability of your machine learning or model to accurately classify or identify correctly the specific types of class based on prediction when compared to reality. Meaning to say, if the prediction was that you will pass the licensure exam, then on reality, if in case pumasa ka talaga, that means you are correctly classified. So that means your model is accurate. And an accurate model, that means also that you have higher precision. So what we look after, or what we need to also ensure apart from accuracy, is higher precision and recall. Meaning to say that the model is able to identify based on previous patterns of data or based on historical data that the current data set exhibits the same characteristics of this particular condition. That's why it is classified, or it will be classified as pasar sa exam or bagsak sa exam, something like that. And apart from that, we will be studying squared error, or the probability of achieving lower error, likelihood, posterior probability, cost or utility, margin, entropy, KL divergence, and a lot more. So most of these terms would be discussed when we would be discussing decision trees, naive Bayes, SVM, logistics. So we would be applying those. Jim has actually raised a wonderful question, a very nice, valid question here. Yung history po na ginamit niyo po, Doc, is number of years. Hindi naman po siya talaga, hindi siya talaga necessary na years. No? So it could be, basta yung ginatawag natin histories, yung previous na data. So for example, may problem tayo, gusto mong i-predict ang accuracy, you can accurately predict the result of the licensure exam performance of criminology students. Yung historical data na sinasabi natin could be data from previous semester, previous year, or the past 10 years. No? So may implication din naman kung gaano kadami yung ating data, because we need to also ensure na yung context ng data mo of the past is also relevant now in the future. Kasi if in case gagamitin mo na model is gumagamit pa ng data set na 1990s, 1991, 1992 in order to predict 2022 board exam performance, maybe there needs to be an updating of that, no? Baka kailangan mong i-improve or i-fine-tune ang model mo so that there could be accurate predictions that account for current changes in the curriculum, something like that. But there are specific examples that require years and years and even decades of data. So for example of that is observing the sun. If in case, ano yung temperature ng sun, solar prominences, sunspots, it does not only require previous days of images, it requires decades of images in order for you to understand whether or not our sun is normally or abnormally shining, or if in case there are black holes, makita nyo yan sa TikTok, no, yung mga stars ina-absorb ng black holes. hindi kasi yan instantaneous, no? It requires hundreds of years. So of course, the basis of view in the iteration process would require decades of historical data by means of capturing real-time videos or images and something like that. So it really depends. The time horizon of your historical data depends also on the kind of problem that you are addressing, especially in, correct, no? The more the data, the better. Bakit siya ganon? Kasi in machine learning, you need to have millions or hundreds of thousands. Kaya nga yung data set ninyo talagang thousands and thousands talaga yung example. May magsabi sa akin, sir, Doc, pwede kuan lang, 400, mag-survey lang ko. Yung survey is social research po yun, hindi po siya big data. Ang big data, may magtatanong sa atin, ang big data usually requires thousands. So of course, the more the data, the better it is because it would contribute to the accuracy of the model. Kasi kung marami tayong data, kung ang data mo is intended for 4Ps, ipagpalagay natin, hindi pwede 400 na tao lang kasi we wanted to make sure that our data can actually predict accurately if you wanted to apply it in a national context. So the more data set, the more it will be used in other LGUs, the better, for example. Okay? So next one is optimization. So eto, representation is muna ang graphs na igawa sa imuhang machine learning, no? So ang decision tree mo hatag gina siya sa imuha og decision tree nga example. So of course kailangan nato na graph na siya. Kining evaluation mao ni siya ang mga output nga iyang i-generate, no? So if in case maghatag ko sa inyo example next Saturday, unsaon pagbantay, asa nimo bantayan ang accuracy, ang precision, ang something like that, ang cost or utility. Labi na ang cost or utility, makita ninyo siya sa decision tree. No? Kanang decision tree because sometimes our decisions have specific cost. It might not be monetary, but you can actually compute for the probability of losing or winning, something like that. If in case your decision would be based on specific combinations of parameters that are layered on top. Kana ganing mayon sila og if in case ing ani ka what particular something kana ganing question nga mo lead to another question and then ma-classify siya something like that. So of course naa siya specific na evaluation criteria. So based on the previous engagements that I have, nagday computation of cost or utility. So of course, we do not want to just run the data and then we will just say, ay, 77% lang. Kanang diha ra punta, stop ra punta din na. We need to optimize our model. Baka kasi yung 77% is due to the fact na meron kang mga factors na wala namang silbi, tapos nilagay mo siya dyan. So of course, what you need to do is to trim down the variables that doesn't help you or try to improve your data set. Baka kasi ang dami-dami nating missing values. Kailangan nating i-address yan. No? Kailangan mong mag-impute ng data set. So of course, kailangan mong i-optimize yung algorithm mo. So how do you optimize? That means you're going to create specific settings in machine learning that may include combinatorial optimization. Ito yung aking experience. Greedy search. And then sometimes you would do convex optimization, gradient descent. Itong gradient descent, commonly applicable ito kapag neural networks or deep learning or SVM machine learnings ang gagamitin natin dito. So something like that. While we are learning machine learning, I would require you or request you to, if in case you have sufficient time for the rest of April and May, to watch the Korean series. Madali lang naman to tapusin, yung Startup, so that you can relate what machine learning is. Kasi doon, grabe ka detailed and ka-simple yung explanation nila. What do you mean by angel funding? What do you mean by parameters? Ano yung ginagawa nila? So that you would at least know how these things are being applied in the prediction setting. So if in case you have watched it, I would request you to watch it again. Yeah, it's in Netflix. I'll just take note. Just don't mind the drama in the drama. Just check on the specific things that they do there, especially in terms of prediction using big data. Okay. We have here types of learning. So we have supervised learning. That is defined as training data that includes desired outputs. Regression analysis is an example of a supervised learning. Okay, unsupervised learning is training data does not include desired outputs. This is the particular machine learning that applies to correcting, checking, fitting your data set. If in case you convert this particular continuous data to nominal data, if in case you want to replace missing values with this one, that's an example of an unsupervised machine learning. You do not want to create causalities in there. You do not do causalities in there. You do not do modeling in there. You do not do prediction in there. You're trying to just evaluate the data set if in case it's good for further modeling. So that's unsupervised learning. So usually, ang ginagawa, start with unsupervised machine learning before you do the modeling in supervised learning. Because in that case, in supervised learning, that's the time that you're doing prediction, modeling, training, cross-validation, and testing. So I would show you later, in later Saturdays how these are differentiated. Because by next Saturday, we will have a laboratory session. We also have semi-supervised learning. So training data includes a few desired outputs. It's a combination of unsupervised and supervised. And the most difficult for me is reinforcement learning. So it's usually an extension and more advanced than the supervised one because this is more of iterative in nature. As new data comes in, it would re-specify your model, recalculate, and fit and try to compare. So reinforcement learning is rewards from sequence of action. So it's more of an extension and a further application of outputs or outcomes from our supervised learning models. So we have here an example. We have here supervised learning. Or supervised learning is inductive learning. So a good example of that is classification. Classification is a prediction function that requires a categorical or discrete dependent variable or outcome. So for example, yung aking example kanina sa aking paper na you wanted to know whether this particular client of the microfinance, this particular microfinance borrower will default or not, the classification in there is that loan default is categorized as 0 or 1. 0 if in case nag-default, 1 if nag-default yun. Now, if in case it's continuous, then of course, you would do regression. So the most basic na inductive learning na ginawa ninyo na last sa inyong examination na continuous ang data set is regression. Okay? And then we also have probability estimation. Part of this is part of discrete, and part of our discussion for probability estimation is I would be teaching you how to interpret logistic regression analysis. So sa logistic regression analysis, it would not give you beta coefficients, but odds ratio. So ano yung probability that this will lead to this would lead to that. So of course, part yan sa ating lesson by the next few Saturdays. So what we'll cover for our lesson is I would be teaching you decision tree, mag-touch lang tagamay sa rule induction, instance-based learning, yes, I would introduce this to you, Bayesian learning, neural networks, SVM, learning theory, and we will also be studying clustering, dimensionality reduction, tudluan tamog principal components analysis. Now, para di kahit makuratan, ang principal components analysis is itudlo na ko sa SPSS. Katong exploratory factor analysis. Because exploratory factor analysis is an example of an application of principal component analysis or principal axis factoring. So kana siya magamit na siya sa social sciences, especially if we're trying to establish dimensions of a variable. So nakat-o na ba mo sa inyong other subjects or exploratory factor analysis? Kituluan na ba mo?
Wala pa po, Doc.
Ala tinuod mo wa pag di ay.
Wala pa, Dok.
Alam may pa di ay gipa-appeal ta mo gahapon sa ako asa 3 days gahapon sa akong live no nagtudlo ko gahapon og kuan. Nagtudlo ko gahapon og kanang mediated and moderated regression analysis na gi-live tagaan ako Zoom credentials pero sige na lang kay Sabado manggod kasi di pa no comfortable nga mag-mix up ta sa unsa. But anyway, I would do a repeat session naman for you on the things that I have discussed last with them sa Recoletos. Kasi I was invited by Recoletos since Thursday up until Saturday to speak about structural equation modeling. Ang structural equation modeling, nakakayak parang kung alam mo kung paano ang regression, pwede ko man siya ituro ng half day lang. No? Pero kanang SEM goods pagka tinuod, ginatudlog naman siya 1 year or a little bit 1 sem. Pero kung nakay background sa stat, makabaw naman ka ana because makita mo gud mo unsa ang beta coefficient, si Pearson R mga ana. So masabtan ra nimo siya. So nag-discuss po ko dito og EFA, CFA, path analysis, mediating effects, moderating effects. Gihukad na ako sila tanan para isa ka bagsak lang. And it's very nice because you know these things that we do in USEP are still new to Cebu. Mga pa ang mga taga Recoletos o taga kuan dito nga. Hala, kanti ko na lagi mo alis Davao ay kami pagod na nag-implement diri so ma-amaze ko kay nauna tas pa noon diri sa Davao. So syempre it also is exciting in my part because they would also see us as partner or collaborator for publication. So nanapod mi agreement ito for publications. Okay. Na looking forward Dexter, unahon sa nato ang exam. Ay sa looking forward, nasa demo exam kay para mahuman ka. Okay, so next one is ML in practice. So understanding domain, prior knowledge, and goals. This would be the things that we'll be doing in next 2 Saturdays, no? So that it would be something that would not be too much of a bloodbath for you. So I'm going to walk you through on the fundamentals of machine learning. Ano ba talaga ang kanyang application? Bakit siya nasaag sa inyong sa curriculum sa PhD? How does this apply to urban planning? How does this apply to public administration? How does it apply to DevAd and so on and so forth? Just as what I have discussed last time in April 1 in our face-to-face meeting or in our face-to-face na orientation session sa mga andon talaga sa acquaintance party through. Ang sabi ko sa kanila is gaya ng sinabi ko sa kanila, mas maigin na yung dissertation natin is alam na natin kung anong gagawin natin. Kumbaga, meron na tayong specific topic that we would be working and the subjects or the courses you have in the PhD program would give you a hint on the approaches that you're going to do so that there would be assessments that would prepare you for the topic that you have in mind and you're going to implement that as a requirement or as an assessment in the courses. So for example, ako ang study is about livability of or highly urbanized cities. O pag-abot na ko na sa DevAd, kabaw lagi ko ana kung sa concepts of livability, mga ana makabaw na ko mga related lit ana. Pag-abot sa stat, mangita kag mga indicators ana, pwede mo i-analyze ang data, mag-correlate ka, mag-regress ka para if in case nga mag-publication ka or magsulat ka kasi imong dissertation, same lang na siya. Although niingon man si Ched, niingon man ang CMO nga silent man ang CMO na ang dissertation daw nimo is i-publish, pwede na daw ka mag-publication o lahi nga something, which is my requirement in my class because it would give you a big relief pag abot na sa unsa. Mas mainam pa rin na kung ano ang dissertation mo is related sa kung ano ang ipapublish mo sa klase. Kasi at least it would be something that you can consider your expertise. So for example, kung naay mga discussions or naay mga talks about city livability index through something like that. Kabalo na si Yusef kung kinsa ang itap because ang dissertation ni mo is related to it. Ikaw man ang point person, ikaw man ang expert. Kung miingon og meaningful mathematics learning o kung classmate isa si Dr. Gorno, kung miingon pud og kanang mga cross-country analysis of innovation of kuan si Dr. Manayan ana. Kung miingon ka og kanang mga salin tubig program si Dr. Bising ang inyong kwaon because they are the people who did those in their thesis or dissertation and are people who are immersed in the field. That's why I would encourage you nga di lang po kahit mag-primary data, di lang po yun ninyo ilansang primary data gid inyong dissertation. Try to explore the application of predictive analytics and machine learning or data science in your dissertation. Because ako subscriber gyud kay ko sa secondary data to begin with because secondary data are usually standardized already and usually are accessible for meaningful analysis. Pareha lang inyong gi-exam karon o kanang katong prediction sa wine, something like that. If in case wa kayo nakita nga publication nga nagkuan sa wine quality and you can actually use it in your paper or you can apply another algorithm to utilize to analyze that data set. Maghimo ba ka og reinforcement learning i-divide that nimo in different something like that. Go. Oh, no one actually that's already an available data set for you. It would save you a lot if in case you would do your dissertation for it. So part of the things that we're going to discuss is of course understanding domain. What do you mean by k-nearest neighbor, k-means clustering, also ba ibot pasabot sa something like this, something like that para masabtan nimo yung applications. In fact, mag-study pud ta og market basket analysis. Wa ba ta ask atong self if in case we go to the grocery nga kana ganing magpila mo tapos ting grocery especially in Christmas unsa ang probability syempre mamayad mo tag spaghetti something like that so unsa ang probability ma-compute nato ang individual probability nga ang mga grocers nga namalit sa grocery og kanang spaghetti mupalit og condensed milk mupalit og eggs mupalit og Nestle cream, mupalit og hot dogs. Those are actually possibly estimated using machine learning because if in case you will do that, it would benefit the management of the mall so that they would know kung ano ang may matataas na probability na binibili nito so that makastock sila og inventory or they can sell the product at a bundle. No? That's why makita niyo sa mga groceries, tinutulungan na nila tayo using bundled na nga products. So for example, naka-spaghetti set na kaysa mo pila pa kamukuha pa ka dito sa mga shelves, naka-spaghetti set na siya because there is a historical data set telling us that if in case bibili tayo ng ganito, usually it's paired with this, and this. So that's basically common machine learning. We will be discussing that in prior knowledge in machine learning. And then we will also be learning data integration, selection, cleaning, pre-processing, and etc. So we will also be doing learning models, interpreting results, consolidating and deploying discovered knowledge, and of course, loop. I'm also planning to invite you by May before the finals. I would be interested to organize a Python training sometime on May. It would be attended by my students, PhD management students in Maine, and I would invite my students in USEP so that you would know how to use Python for higher learning, higher order machine learning. So at least ma-introduce kayo and that training would be free. Sige, let's continue our... Okay, meron tayong mga chat here. Si USEP ba, Doc, does not limit students in using primary data? Yes, no, depend. Wala man, no? Wala may rule nga naging nga dapat primary data ka. Na ako'y nadungog nga rule nga, I find it ludicrous and ridiculous enough. Kana ganing, kung public ad ka, dapat quali. Kung dev ad ka, dapat quali. Kung DRE ka, dapat quanti. Kung urban planning ka, dapat mixed methods. They good. Really good. Depende guna sa inyo ha. Depende guna sa inyong direction sa inyong paper. No one stops you from applying what particular method for as long as dili siya thesis level, no? Remember that a PhD dissertation and a master's thesis is kind of different, no? Legit ba ang Kaggle na data? Yes. Kaggle na database is legit. There are legitimate data sets in there. There are also data sets in there na dili kaayo reliable, kay gamay lang, for exercise purposes lang. That's why you have to also apply discernment, no? Kung mamili mo dito kung unsa ang data nga inyong iunsa, kay sometimes makita man niyo kung kinsa ang user o kinsa ang nag-upload, no? The more daghang followers, the more daghang challenges ang nga data set, the more legit it is, because that means it's something like that. For example, I'm not so sure if I can access my Kaggle data set now, and I'll access it. Okay, sign in with your email. Sign in. Oh. So for example, data sets. Ngayon ito. Mangita na tag mga data sets ninyo diribe. Let's say na classification na mga data diri for classification. This one is an example of, this one may use usability rank 67 ang iyang rank, cancer data pwede natin igamiton. So ano ba ang nandito ang kaniyang data of 570 cancer cells, 30 features to determine. Tapos ang iyang data is diagnosis, radius, texture, perimeter, area, smoothness. So nara na diri ang mga data sa cancer. So it's 570. You can use that. You can actually check on the description of the data. So naapay another diri kining student performance prediction. Pero remember, if in case na social science research ang i-pursue that reflects a specific area in the Philippines, ay mag-gather gid mong data na. But if in case you just wanted to prove a point using machine learning, pwede rin sa inyong gamiton. No? Kining mga nga data na ni CI citation, sometimes you might want to check on the actual link, the specific files, you would discuss it, o may mga discussion dito. You might want to check on it before you download the dataset. Ano pa ba? Itong heart attack analysis and prediction. So naay kuan diri nagani groceries dataset for market basket analysis kani. Mao ni ako giniingon ganina, market basket analysis nga unsa ang ginaunsa. Kini naay patient, sex, exercise, induced angina, number of major vessels, something like that. Nakadiscuss na siya tanan. So expect that we would be using this along the way. Now, sir, pwede naman niyo siya gamitin for publication? Sure, pero kailangan kayo mag-analyze. No? Kayo talaga ang mag-stat, kayo ang mag-apply ng algorithm, mag-apply din kayo ng ibang algorithm na hindi na common na in-apply based on the following codes shared by others, para at least ma-attribute yung analysis sa iyo. Hindi yung ang gagawin mo lang is pupunta ka sa mga nandito, kokopyahin mo yung approach nila. Copy plagiarism naman yon. So itong market basket analysis, for example, this one contains how many instances? So it contains what? How many instances? Business. Ginigamit ako ni sa akong klase. Ayan. Anyway, yeah, meron na sila dito. Mana na sila a priori implementation for market basket analysis, na sila PySpark. So ang dami ng mga specific sets na andito. Meron din naman tayong mga data sets na maybe, let's say, ito, Google stock price, CrossFit athletes, daghan kaayo diri. Ano pa ba? In terms of health, heart disease in Cleveland, Ohio, diabetes prediction data set. We also have, let's say, movie ratings prediction. Okay, parehan ni Netflix movie rating data set. Kini, ang kung gina-work nga publication karon kanang mag-try ta og determine kung ang ratings nga makita niyo sa di ko andira tinuod ba gyud. So naay mga specific diha nga mga gigamit ng artificial mga machine learning na mga something. Naghimo sila og analysis. So ang dami-dami nating pwedeng gamitin dito na pwede nating maging focus sa dissertation. Isa pa, it's your ability to defend it that matters. So agiyon lagi nato nag-beauty talk ang tanan, char. Okay. May mga libre man. Kung gusto niyo ng Scopus, try to publish in RMRJ, Recoletos Multidisciplinary Journal. Yun, Recoletos, that's in USJR, 0 ang fee, and then Scopus pagid siya. So, of course, unahon sa igor nato atong exam lagi Dexter, di lang sa ng publication. Baka nag-submit. Unahon sa natong exam. Okay, next, continuation sa atong lecture sa machine learning. Nag-ingon na ba ako daan sa inyo ha? Nga 15 days is 15 days. Ano naman ako ani? Wait lang. Okay, so we'll go back to the concept of machine learning. Christine gani atong niagi gani nga kapakapa gani stat atong niadna siya dito sa kuan, di ba Ma'am Christine? Sa gym, muna gid siya tuon ato. So, machine learning is programming computers to optimize a performance criterion using example data or past experience. So, may tanong kanina si Donald Jim, no, na ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng history? So, it could be before, a week before, it could be, depende kasi yan sa 4 V's ng ating data science. So, velocity, veracity, volume. Kung ang volume sa data gahapon is in millions, so of course, valid gyud tong previous weeks niya, no? History of last week is already something. Pero kung on a daily basis, of course, we have to include those with farther time horizons. For example, if in case we're talking of stock market of the Philippines, the PSEI started in January of 2006. So of course, 2006 ra gyud atong maunsaan na, no? Magamit ana on a daily basis. Ako gani ang ako master's thesis gani is pakitaon ta mo sa akong master's thesis. Paano na ako siya na-publish pero available naman siya online. Secondary data ko ako pag secondary data gid ko sa unsa simulated data. This one is a paper I presented in Thailand. So, nagamit ko og kini magkuan man pud ta, magtuon man ta og arima og SUR tuluan ta mo ani simulating the effects of macroeconomic activities on sectoral indices of Philippine Stock Exchange. So, ang nangyari, gumamit ako ng secondary data here. So, ano ba ang aking ginamit? Gumamit ako ng data ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, monthly data for peso, US dollar exchange rates, foreign currency reserves, consumer price index, wholesale price index, and OFW remittances from January 2006 to May 2014. Kasi yung stock price was available only from January 2006 on a daily basis. So, ito ay mabuhat ani class. So, dito ragid kutaman. So, ang gigamit na ko ani is another type of predictive analytics using an econometric approach. I utilize the seemingly unrelated regression under the simultaneous equations modeling that we can find in Gretel software. But you cannot do just the clicking in Gretel software. You're going to code. Mag-coding pa a little bit. Tudluan ta mo sa ako. So, unsa man ang algorithm? Ingani pag suwat sa algebra. Siya pagsuwat, unya pag uman-ana, mo na ni ihatag sa imuha. Una, kuan ni na ako ang advisor gani ani ay akong panel gani ani kay dating VPAE si Dr. Kuan Angelia unya si Kuan akong isa sa panel ani si Kuan chair na ko ani si Rec Igia. Dawat man. So it's just a matter of you defending your paper's idea kasi usually kapag mag-EFA ka, mag-CFA, murag for USEP, murag lata naman siya a little bit. But what makes it different for them is you try another type of approach. Basta lang meron kayong valid na development perspective na pwede makita. 101 days, ay 101 observations lang gani ni siya o 101 ka months akong gigamit. Na masters naman. I mean, to be honest, this particular approach was way ahead my batchmates. Kasi sila nasanay sa correlation something like that. Common kanang correlation sa masters oy. So di mo ko ganahan anang ako ang papel di ka na ganing wala siya ginatawag na Cora factor baka ng kuradang factor. So of course we need to be different. So ayun. Okay, so next one. So why learn? Kasi machine learning why learn? So there is no need to learn to learning means that or learning is used when human expertise does not exist. For example, navigating on Mars. You cannot just go there, you cannot just go to Mars or go to the moon or go to kanang a safe or the Goldilocks zone area to observe the sun. Di man na pwede. You cannot use human learning for it. You need to apply machine learning in order for you to effectively study it. So what do you mean by Goldilocks zone? It's a habitable area in our solar system that is suitable for life, and it's not something that na directly nakuan siya harsh condition siya like duol kaayo sa sun. So that means it's just right. Now, if in case you wanted to study the sun, daghan kay mga TikTok videos lang gawas karon about sa sun, sa mga black holes, something like that. Do you think it's human learning? No, it's not human learning. It's machine learning that is working in there. No, it's machine learning based on satellite images and radars and sonars and deep space probes nga nag-capture og videos og images sa ato ang mga heavenly bodies. And then humans are unable to explain their expertise like speech recognition. O kanang ginagamit karon sa artificial intelligence, kanang magdab-dab ka karon sa TikTok. Kana di man nakuan machine man imong gamiton gid ana, machine learning man gid na. And then solution changes in time like routing on a computer network. Of course, this is not possible. No, we cannot use our brain for that instance. You need to have a computer network that links together. And then solution needs to be adapted to particular cases like user biometrics. Ato ang inig mag-login ta atong gamiton sa atong pag-tanaw na to kung ma-determine ang kung ikaw bagyod na si Ma'am Christine bagyod na istanaw na to ang iyang kumagpo. Di ba? A specific piece of your biometric is scanned by a system and it already identifies you. Okay? So kanang mag-time in pa something like that, it identifies you. Di na siya human brain ang gigamit ana, kundi machine learning. So what we talk about when we talk about learning, so learning general models from a data of particular examples. Now, why would you research or why is it exciting for you? Why do you need to be excited or what is exciting for you to study or apply machine learning in your case? Because data is cheap and abundant. Data is cheap and abundant because there are a lot of data warehouses available. Some of them have mirror servers already. So daghan na kaayog data storage na ay mga cloud karon nga gina-share gani nila ang data. Naapoy mga data marts Well, knowledge is expensive and scarce. So in order for you to take advantage of the data, you have this knowledge, then at least you make use of the data that is available for you to access. And then example in retail is customer transactions to consumer behavior. Ang customer transactions kanang ginapalit nimo, ginabayaran nimo sa counter, kanang ginascan sa barcode. But if in case pangutanon ka sa manager nga sa tanang namalit karong Christmas, unsa ang top 10 most common nga taas og probability nga ginapalit together with hot dogs? Something like that. Or together with spaghetti. Or together with rice. Or together with a dozen of eggs. So we because of millions of data or hundreds of thousands of data during Christmas in SM branches nationwide, we cannot possibly humanly analyze it. We need to have we need to access that data set and make use of machine learning to study the behavior of the data or the pattern of the data so that we can understand consumer behavior. Now, there's also another consumer behavior statistical analysis that you could use, that's conjoint analysis, so that you can determine the behavior of the market. But it's only limited to a survey data of a handful of people from 150 to 1,200 respondents. You cannot actually implement large data on it. So ang limitation sa conjoint analysis, mag-survey gyud ka. We do not want that because there are available data that can be considered proxy for us to understand consumer behavior, and that's purchases nga naa sa imong system. So about learning, we build a model that is a good and useful approximation to the data. So just like what Fisher, the father of statistics, has claimed, all models are wrong. Lahat daw ng statistical models that represent something like that are wrong. But according to Turban in 1994, models are reconstruction and representation of social realities. Fisher said naman na all models are wrong. What makes it right is your ability to contextualize it. That's why every model is good, but it also has pitfalls. In machine learning, it addresses those pitfalls by trying to estimate a very large data set that represents a large number of people so that you can understand their behavior without being bounded by confidence level and margin of error. Well, confidence level, but not really bounded by margin of error. So, alam nyo na kung ano ang mga applications ng data mining. Ano daw ang makikita natin sa machine learning? So, of course, may role dito ang statistics, because at some point we will be doing inference in there. And then meron ding role dito ang computer science, because we will identify which specific algorithms are efficient to solve the optimization problem and representing and evaluating the model for inference. So these were, as I've mentioned kanina, these are the things that we're going to do. Mag-association pattern mining ta, mag-supervised learning ta, mag-unsupervised learning. Di lang ta mag-lab sa reinforcement learning, but we will try to have other special topics like the use of algorithms in JAS, mag-ARIMA modeling ta, and then mag-coding ta ng konti sa Python for Twitter. Okay, so ito ang mga things na gagawin natin, i-discuss natin next time, ito mga classification natin. Kanang makita na ninyo kana ganing mangayo ang inyong phone o kana ganing password o na dili password ang inyong gamiton kundi inyuha ng iris, no? Kunya ang iyang require sa imo kung mag-set up ka for the first time kay kailangan ka mo lingi sa left, tapos mo lingi sa right, mo hangad, something like that. So that your phone, once you register all of your biometrics or your faces, would know that even mag-ana lang ka, magmata ka, mag-ana lang ka sa imong phone, ma-open na siya because it was able to capture the entire dimension of your face. Another one is when you register your thumbprint or your fingerprint. So sometimes you would be required to enter it 4 or 5 times until such time that all of the specific parts of your fingerprint will be identified or stored. Okay, basing what if mag-ana ka, di ba? Something like that. So kung isa lang ang iyang basis for the identification of the unsa, for the identification of the fingerprint, then it will be difficult for you to access your phone. What if napasok kag mantika diri side? So of course, we need to use it. Now, face recognition, iris identification, fingerprint identification are technologies used for phones with advanced AI or ML based na mga technologies, so that you would not type anymore, you would not do the pattern anymore. Isa lang nimo kaing ana, ma-open na dayon siya. So the danger in it is basig na kay kambal, ma-open siya, or ang kawatan is sulod sa inyong balay, tas giana sa imuhang graduation photo ang cellphone ngayong kinawat before siya nag-unsa. So that's the danger in it. That's why it's always better to do two-factor authentication. So I'm not so sure if we can do image processing because it really requires at least i7 computers. We cannot do that in USEP, and we cannot do that currently because it really needs advanced level na machine learning for you to understand it. So siguro mag-discuss lang kasi yung applications. Well, regression kabalo naman mo ana, you have already examples in there, and then we will be discussing supervised learning approaches next time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check whether or not you have installed your Weka. Nakapag-install na ba tayo ng Weka natin? So that I can give you an example. Weka. Yung 10-year data of earthquake, heat index, tropical cyclone, can I use this to predict what will you? Yeah, you can actually basically use those, but you need to check which specific other parameters could likely affect or likely contribute to tectonic movements. Kasi apart from those, there are other factors, not just geophysical or atmospheric factors, but even solar system-related factors. You might want to check on that if in case there's available data set, you could do some benchmarking. Anyway, nakapag-install na po ba tayo ng Weka? Kasi magra-run through po tayo ng Weka ngayon. Open po tayo ng ating microphone at saka ng ating something. Para magra-run through po tayo sa Weka, tuturuan ko po kayo kung paano. Open tag microphone, open taog yung ating camera. Huwag lang mag-chat. Kay matudluan ta mo unsaon pag-install na sa Weka. So if in case you haven't installed yet, we will be installing it now. The link. Okay, so I'll be giving you the naghatag naman ko ang link ani sa una.
Wala nga ata. No?
Wala kami ka-install.
Again, naghatag og link ani sa una. I fully remember it. Murag isa lang ang nag-feedback nag-install. Oh. May lang naman nato na basta may lagyan nato
Dok mo nitong katong bird ang logo.
Correct. Isa ang wala pa nag-install.
Ako, Dok.
Wala pang install.
Okay, so install natin ngayon. I already gave you the website. What we need to do is we're going to go to that site, and then afterwards you go to download. So meron ditong versions, no? So for example, for Windows, what you're going to do is click this to download the Weka software. If in case your Mac, depende kung ano ang processor ninyo, kung ARM or Intel, the most common is Intel, you click here so that you will download the DMG file. So in my case, I'm Mac OS now, so I'll download it. Madali lang naman kapag Windows, no? Kasi double click nyo lang yan. So in this case, it will download something like that. It will go to SourceForge, and you would just wait for it to be done downloading. So if in case tapos niyo siyang ma-download, mag-back lang tayo. Puntahan nyo yung ating documentation. Yung documentation naman natin, andoon yung lahat ng mga specific na mga modules na pwede nyong gamitin. So since nasa data mining tayo, so you may want to download data mining, practical machine learning tools and techniques. And meron ditong advanced data mining with Weka. Kasi by next week, gagamit na tayo ng Weka. So kapag natapos din siyang i-download, in my case, I'll double click that. I'll click that one. Ayan. So nag-a-unpack na siya. Sa inyong case, kapag Windows kayo, double-click nyo lang, tapos install nyo lang siya continuously. So after opening, something like that. Yan, it's opening. Ayan. So kapag na-install na ito, yung DMG, ang gawin nyo, yung logo na ito, i-drag nyo dito sa applications. Okay, kapag ayan, nag-i-install na si Weka, no? So, ayan, nag-i-install na siya. Ito na siya. Okay, so I guess tapos na akong mag-install. I can now exit this one. If I'll go to Weka, ayan, lalabas na siya. Double-click ko lang siya. And the proof that it's effective is sometimes it would warn you that it's coming from an online chuchuchu, no? So sometimes it needs to be verified pa. Ayan, so open. Ayan, it would give you this logo kung nag-i-install na siya, something like that. Or nag-open na siya, and it would lead you to user interface. Weka has a package manager that you can use. The okay, do not show this message again. So, eto na yung bagong itsura niya, updated na ito. Ito yung pinakabagong version. The old version is the cartoon na something. So, ito kasi yung anong tawag nito? Kalimutan ko yung bird na to. It's a flightless bird. Oh, the Weka is a flightless bird. Okay. So kapag ready na kayo or na-install na, ganito na siya. So ang ating interface na gagawin is we would click Explorer. And this would be now the interface that we're going to use for our machine learning. So I would upload a specific material in our UVE, no, so that you can follow the steps and guidelines of the installation, plus the things to remember and some lessons that you can actually study before our laboratory section next week. Because next week we will be discussing unsupervised machine learning. So how to pre-process your data set, something like that. So kapag na-install nyo na, tell me in the chat box if in case you're good or nakapag-install na kayo. As much as possible, you install it now para at least makita ko kung anong kailangan. So,
Ano po?
yes po.
Kung sino
Installed na po. Installed.
Mo reflect na sa kuan sa desktop na. Automatic reflect ba siya?
Kung Windows, I guess so. Pwede po din mo siya hanap pangitaon sa usa. Ang yang nawong sa logo kay ingani kanang color blue nga langgam ang logo. Ang langgam color white. It's a circle. It's a round shape icon. Kung hindi nyo siya makita, just type Weka in your search bar and then lalabas yung color blue na icon. You just click that, single click or double click, and then you're good to go. Basta, ang mugawas dapat sa inyo ha is want to close now. Basta dapat ang mugawas sa inyo ha at unsa is dapat kining langgam. Kanang naay Weka GUI chooser na explorer, experimenter, knowledge workbench, and then
gawas na siya do.
Sa explorer.
Okay na ako daw.
Okay.
Doc, okay na po yung sa akin, Doc.
Very nice.
Wala pa ko, Doc.
Installed na do.
Okay na din.
For sure si Christine nag-drive.
Installed na, Doc.
Okay na, Doc. Saon na ni Doc kasi sunod na.
Ay, sa si Ma'am Christine as usual. Okay, so kuan kanang make sure na naka-install na ito because by next week Weka na ang gagamitin natin. Weka and Gretel. Gretel good kay na ay programming. For EFA lang ato ang gamiton is SPSS. Kana lang po. For Gretel magamit na for econometrics o econometrics. Tulo na lang kasi itong lessons for econometrics ko na lang. Arima, tudloan ta mo Arima, tudloan ta mo og katong time series analysis Arima, SUR, seemingly unrelated regression, o limited variables katong mga types of regression nga non-linear regression katong mga Kragit, Tobit, Hekit. Ito siya. Tudloan ta mo to para nagdaghan mo magamit. No nga, dili lang regression ang stats kalibutan. Pero I mean, mas gwapo ng regression nga kibaw mo sa assumptions, no? Kay makita siguro ninyo, I don't know if in case you were able to have regression in your previous semester, wag siguro mo na natudluan kung sa assumptions ka dapat normally distributed ang inyong residuals, dapat ipakita niya ang QQ plot ug ang kuan histogram. Importante yun na siya class, especially mag PhD mo kay di man na pwede nga mag-interpret ta sa beta coefficients nga unsay ang gilabas din ha nga wala nato kita na ang data set, no? Kanang mo diri sa din tag-ingon hala not significant ang result basta hindi ay ang imong data kay wala mo na reverse code, kulang-kulang imong mga values, tan-awon man guna nato siya kay sayang atong effort sa atong data analysis na mali day ang atong something. Okay, so I'll show you an example. I'm not so sure if I have an example. Iris dataset. Mangita ko sa internet kay wa man ko sa akong computer gid karon nga katong ginagamit
sa kuan Doc, sa Jazz.
Ayo lang tong Jazz katong Iris dataset na ARF. Yan. Ito nasa GitHub. Perfect.
Ang ARF Doc, ano siya ang kuan program for kuan kasi natong gikuan Weka?
Yes. So i-download sa inako si nako kung correct ba ni. And check na ko kung saan sulod. Okay. Okay, all good, all good. So I'll send this ARF file sa inyo para at least na amoy madula-dulaan and downloads. Asa man siya? So ibutang na ko siya sa documents. Can you confirm if you have received the iris.arf?
Yes po, Doc. Nasa chat box na po.
Okay, so our file ang usually ginagamit nato sa Weka. So how do we export? Usually at nato, pwede man ta maka-open og Excel file, CSV file, subfile diri sa Explorer, no? So usually we click open file, and then if in case ang ato ang data set is CSV, if in case it is wala yung Excel de. So dapat ang Excel i-convert niyo to CSV before niyo siya magamit. So in my case, our file ang ako amang available na. Doon ako sa documents, and then iris.r, click open, and everything should be good here. So ana ang pag-export nato diri. So nakita nato na ang iris dataset na ay sepal length, sepal width, petal length, petal width, and then class. Now, pakitaon ta mo,
Asa
hindi naman, unsa daw?
Na-download na namo na po, Doc.
Oh, so
Okay.
if in case ka na human mo og ka ng install sa Weka, you can actually immediately export it something like this. Makita ninyo diri ang dataset nato. Ako ang gikuan is mag-open tag file. Kunya pangitaon lang to niyo ang iris.r, something like that, and then click open. It would result to this. Now the good thing about the Weka Explorer is that it would give you already the percentage of the selected attribute. No, we do not call these variables, but rather we call this attributes. So for example, sepal length is numeric man siya kay mga centimeters man siya, something like that. Ang class diri is nominal. So the type of variable is something like is shown if in case pati ang iyahang unsa ang iyahang mga labels, unsa ang iyahang minimum, maximum, mean, and standard deviation, automatic na niya compute, no? Unya makita na nimo ang iyang computation, i-group na pud na siya, i-visualize na niya diri according to the class nominal, mga nominal variable nimo. So the variable blue is iris setosa, this one is iris versicolor, and this one is iris virginica. So kining iris dataset, ang tumong ani is to classify nga based on sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width, kung unsa ni siya nga species na bulak. Is it iris setosa? Is it iris versicolor? Is it iris virginica? So naay mga specific attributes dire if you want to check the data, if in case you wanted to look for the data itself, pwede man mo siya no? So i-visualize all, makita nimo ang distribution niya tanan. Pwede pud nimo siya tan-awon, i-select tanan. Kung mag-remove kag specific variables, mupili lang kag isa, something like that, pwede na mo siya i-remove. How about na gusto nimo mag-run ka later? Mag-run ka og mga specific na analysis. So where do you implement it? So kung may kag mag-unsupervised machine learning ka, tan-aw nimo kung naay mga missing values, diri gyud ka sa pre-processed class. So all the machine learning algorithms are in the filter. So mag-choose ka din ha kung unsa ang imong mga machine learning algorithms. Is it supervised, unsupervised? Is it a supervised learning that addresses the attribute? Is it the unsupervised which wants to create merge many values, make something like that, mag-cluster membership, mag-discretize ba ka, principal components ba ka, mag-time series, something like that. No? So it really depends on what you're intending to do, just like any analysis in statistics that you wanted to study, no? to learn the assumptions. Of course, we will be walking through with this one from time to time. And then if in case mag-classification ka na, try nimo predict kung tama ba ang classification sa kaning species. Diri ka sa classify, kung mag-cluster analysis ka, diri ka, mag-association pattern mining ka, mag-a priori or something like that, mag-evaluate ka sa mga attributes or mag-visualize ka, na siya diri tanan. So pati ang yang optimization diri nakabutang na siya tanan. So tudluan ta mo kung unsa akong gibuhat nako sa kuanha sa katong akong publication. So diri na sa classify, mag-choose ka diri niya. Let's say mag-decision tree ko, Nya sa decision tree ako siyang iset nga i-throw na ko ang display rules, tapos magamit ko og LBK. Nya ang cross validation nako is at least 3, something like that. That means tungaon akong data katulo. Tapos mogamit lang ko og training set. Ang training set akong data set nako as it is, pero kung gusto ko og mag cross validation, kung gusto ko nga mag percentage split, that means 30%, 66% sa akong data ang Iran, unya i-cross validation ang 33%. These terms would be made familiar to you in the later part. So if in case na okay na ko, start then ko run ana, and I should say that the algorithm was able to correctly classify 96% of the species correctly. So katong akong gipakita ganinya sa inyuhan na mga precision, recall, ROC curve na siya diri class. So what if gusto na ko siya i-visualize, tan-aw na ko ang katong iyahang cost benefit. So makita na nako diri ang cost benefit curve. Makita nako siya diri ang di man na siya decision tree, decision tree lagi na siya. So gusto na ako makita ang margin curve, makita na pud nako, i-optimize pa na nimo siya, something like that. Pwede pud ka pwede nimo siya gamiton, no? So naay mga future nga mga dataset kay mong i-load, pwede nimo i-reapply ang model, something like that. Pwede pud ka decision table man. Decision tree ni siya. Ang decision tree is lazy man yata to. Dala trees, di ay trees. This J48 is decision tree. Yan. J48, 25, 25, 25. Okay. Default lang na to. Start. So 96% si G48. Tanaw na to ang decision tree. Maghimo siya og 3. Ayan. So maghimo siya og 3. So ang pinaka-kuan gidi ay pinaka-basis gid sa correct sa kanaganing correct identification of your species is the petal width. No, if in case it's less than or equal to 0.6, it is categorized as iris setosa based on that. Kung it's greater than 0.6 daw ang petal width, unya ang iyang petal length is less than or equal to 1.7, kung greater than 1.7 daw ang petal width, o na-establish na niya ang kondisyon, iris virginica daw na siya. Pero kung less than or equal to 1.7, ang petal length, unya paguman ang petal width is less than or equal to 1.5, virginica daw na siya. Kung greater than 1.5, versicolor na siya. Kung ang petal length is less than or equal to 4.9, versicolor na siya. So, ma-establish na niya class based on this decision tree. So if in case gusto nimo gamiton ang decision tree para mag-identify ka kung kinsa unsa ang conditionalities para mangutang or dili, kini gud ang nice kaayo. So makita ba ninyo nga naa kay mga specific correlation or coefficients diri? Wala, kasi ang imong gamiton is basically identifying whether your model is correct based on the algorithm that you have, the kappa statistic, something like that. And of course, lahi ra gud na kung ato ning ipakita okay ning mga ingani mabagwan ang imong panel ani ba. This is something unique na pwede ninyo siya gamitin. But this will be rationalized more to you sa mga rules nga akong ipanggamit dire para at least it would not sound alien to you. Okay? So any questions? Sir Uy, so that I understand.